Shubhi Mathur, and I welcome you all to yet another episode of Let Us Talk. We've been hearing on our channel, Reinvent Yourself. Come out of your comfort zone. Explore something new about yourself. Follow your passion. The purpose of human life does not lie in mere existence, but to add value to it at every stage of your life. All this sounds so good, so evolved, so progressive. But is it that easy? Is it that easy to come out of your comfort zone? Is it that easy for yourself and for others around you? Well, let us hear this from our speaker in our today's session. Today we have with us Mr. Vineet Srivastav, who's based out of Bangalore. After working in multinationals, research institutes, and tech startups, Vineet finally started his own entrepreneurial journey in the year 2020. He worked in companies like A-Star in Singapore and Broadcom in India, and then took this jump. He now provides technical consultancy and also runs Byte, where he passionately teaches coding to young minds across the globe. Welcome, Vineet. Welcome on Let Us
Thank you. Thank you, Shubhi. Thank you so much. And greetings to all the viewers. Pleasure is entirely mine to be talking to you here.
So, Vineet, you did your higher studies in Singapore. You studied in the National University of Singapore, one of the best universities. And then you moved to India. You were in Bangalore working in one of the big names in the industry. And then, you decided to start something of your own. So was it that entrepreneurial bug which hit you, which has hit most of us, I feel, or you really wanted to explore something about yourself? And I have been told that, Vineet is a person who has kept exploring himself at every stage. He's written a book also, he's learned music, he's learned different languages. So what was it that triggered you to quit your job, to get out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting question, and thanks for the background. I have been very fortunate, I would say, to have gotten the education that I got both in India. Then I studied in Singapore. The companies that I worked with, I got to work with really, really good companies out there, great people, great problems. So that has all been very formative for me, I would say. Right. So, basically, it opens up your mind. You get to learn about the industry. You get to learn about yourself, which is probably the most important thing. And, I've always kind of tried to maximize my experiences, which you kind of mentioned earlier too. So, there wasn't like a fix, like a one day I woke up with all these ideas, but, generally, gradually, you kind of, one thing leading to another. And around 3 years back, I felt that, I have sufficient, let's say, understanding of the industry. I have a strong enough network. And most importantly, I think I have a very good, a reasonable self-understanding of what I like to do, what I'm really passionate about, and that kind of led me to wherever I am today. So yeah, that's how it has been. Yeah.
But Vineet, was it so easy as you've made it sound? Because getting out of comfort zone was not only for yourself, but for your entire family. See, abhi tak you were used to a job, but when you have something of your own, 24/7, the mind is on it. It is on your onus. So, what was the reaction of your wife? And you have two beautiful girls whom you call your Hira Moti. So, they would have seen a father who was always available and is now become an entrepreneur. He's teaching to kids across the globe who are in different time zones. So, घर में भी थोड़ा उथल पुथल तो हुआ होगा कि भाई एक आप रात में भी आप क्लासेस ले रहे हैं, कभी दिन में ले रहे हैं. There is no fixed schedule. So the discipline of the house gets little disrupted. There are little ripples. So coming out of comfort zone doesn't mean only you have to. It is the entire family which needs to. So what was there?
That is such a beautiful question. That's such a pertinent question, I would say. At my age, we have a family. And I think end of the day, nothing is possible if your, let's say, your partner and your family in general is supportive, right? So I've been very fortunate, I would say, that, my wife, obviously, she has been supportive is a weak word. She has been extremely encouraging, with me, and as well as my kids and my parents. They've all, been very supportive of this whole thing. Clearly, a lot of change, right? Like you mentioned that, from being in a job, your responsibilities are somewhat limited. though our job timings are such that for both me and Nidhi, we did have calls at night earlier too. We did have early morning calls because we work with, overseas clients always. So that part has always been there, but this is totally different, right? Here you're responsible for everything. Now I run, for example, YBite. That's sort of part of my, what I do. So I run classes across time zones. Now today, I have like 35 different countries where students are learning from. So clearly, managing across time zones, creating curriculum for them, creating material which they can refer to, it does take a lot of effort. And because I do it all from home, so it also means that I include the time and the space of my kids. It's a full family, let's say, transition. Totally hear you there.
And Vineet, like our channel targets on the elderly people. So, how was the support or what was the reaction of your parents? Were they quite okay of you quitting your job and starting something of your own at this age? And or they were like कि क्यों छोड़ना है, सब कुछ ठीक तो चल रहा है, क्या करने की जरूरत है? Usually that is the reaction of what elders have, and that is what we call a generation gap.
So, maybe we can just go back a little bit on this question. I think you mentioned I studied in Singapore, but one interesting detail there is that I went out of home to Singapore when I was just 15. So that kind of sets the background here that, that's the kind of trust and, let's say, relation I have with my parents, that they trust me this much, right? So, even at that young age, they gave me that freedom to go out. So, they respect that decision, right? And as far as this is concerned, I have been very collaborative with them as well, right? So they knew that, I've been experimenting things outside work. I've been trying stuff, they know what I'm really passionate about, right? And I think from that point of view, they are, yes, unconventional from their angle, but they have been very supportive, right? And also I think one factor that plays a role here is the role that my wife Nidhi is playing here, right? They see that she's completely, encouraging me, number one. So which means she understands, what I'm doing, because clearly, like you said, as generations change, the perception of the whole thing changes. But they see that Nidhi is completely not only supporting me, encouraging me, but also helping me with her strategic inputs, which are playing a huge role. So that creates a degree of trust for them. And in general, I think they realize that, this is something that, I'm doing not out of making a point to anybody or not out of like a pretentious goal here, right? I mean, it's an inner calling that you're following. And I think they're quite supportive of that. So they, in fact, adjust their schedules based on my classes when I go there. So yeah, I would say very, very lucky from that point of view.
So, Ketana, support and trust are two major things which are needed. So, Vineet, it is so good to know you came out of your comfort zone. You had your parents' support and your wife's immense support, her input on every front you had. And did this give you to rediscover something new also about yourself? When you're doing something of your own, there are many new things which you unleash about yourself.
A very good question. I think, like I always say, any journey outward is basically journey inward, right? So now 3.5 years into this journey, the act of starting or those fears are kind of a little bit history. But what is definitely real is the challenge and let's say the effort it takes to keep this going day after day. It's not easy, right? It's definitely not easy because number one, we are having to do a lot of things that push you out of your comfort zone on a daily basis, right? Be it accounting, be it, let's say, marketing, be it, sales. These are things that I have not done before, right? And you got to have to learn that, right? Number two, the way this whole thing runs, it just cannot be made predictable, result oriented, right? So we like to have, and a lot of people have this perception that you start on your own, next day in 3 months you'll have this, 6 months you'll have that. It doesn't work like that, right? Because you are doing something, it has to be accepted by let's say by whoever you're doing it for, your customer. You have to understand their needs. It takes a while, right? So the way I kind of feel one gets going is not by looking at the upside too much, but rather than focusing on the downside, the affordable loss that I call, so.
And Vineet, not only now, not only like 3 years back that you started your own thing, I was told that, you've learned so many languages, you've learned music, and you've written a book also. So how did you get time for all this? Usually people complain कि यार time नहीं मिलता है, it is such a busy work life, and how did you manage this? To rediscover yourself, one needs, time management is very important. कि rediscover yourself, follow your passion. So उस सब के लिए time चाहिए. And people are always cribbing. Time नहीं है. So I want to know that from how did you manage to do so many things while working?
Yeah, I mean, so time is something that we feel, all of us feel the crunch. I think that's the reality of modern world, especially with all the distractions that we have in our hand. That's inevitable. We all are like that, right? So it's always difficult. But I think what works for me, what I try to make it work for me is I try to do small things consistently. I think consistency is the key. Like you mentioned music. So I started music about 6 years back, right? That's when I started learning. And because, I'm fortunate again to have found a very good teacher, very dedicated teacher. So you feel some kind of, commitment towards a teacher, towards a subject. And that keeps you moving, right? There are times I don't practice as regularly, but broadly you keep moving. So I would say, if you can keep the goals small, measurable, right? And be consistent. I think that's the most important thing. It's hard, but that's probably the hardest and the most important thing. This book that you mentioned, it's called Breaking Barriers.
Wow.
I wrote this along with my dad.
Yeah.
Right, so both of us got together, and one day, just over a tea conversation, we were thinking, if I just speak, let's say, one word of somebody's language, we meet some new person, let's say hello in that language. For example, somebody from Swahili, meet somebody speaking Swahili, you speak hello, and that just breaks the barrier.
Yeah.
So we wrote this together because we realized that, thanks to my work, thanks to me being in Singapore, I had been in multiple countries around India. He also had traveled a lot within India as well as outside India. So together we could really tap onto our network and find people from different cultures. So that's how this whole idea of breaking barriers came up. We basically wrote how people meet and greet each other in different cultures. And the best thing is we have contacted native speakers for all the 40 languages that we have covered in this.
So कहते हैं ना कि first of all determination to come out of your comfort zone, then the consistency to follow what you are doing, the support of everyone around you. It's a mix of everything. So Vineet, I would like to know from you that what message do you have for people who want to come out of their comfort zone, and what message do you have for our elderly audience? Because there are many times कि लोग ना डर के नहीं करते हैं कि यार my father wants me to be a doctor, my father wants me to be an engineer, and you are doing coding, which is something our parents would not even know कि coding क्या है, and that too online you are doing. So what message do you have for our viewers, both the set of viewers?
Yeah. So I think there are two questions here, right? What message for, let's say, people who feel that they have something to do, and right? Yeah. I think, what I would say is that be consistent, number one, and be true to your calling, right? I mean, so I think for, for the set of people who, let's say, have a passion to follow and they're finding that it's turning out very hard, I think that's a very relatable problem. Time is always short supply in today's world. But my suggestion would be try making baby steps. Don't have to do anything drastic. Maybe 5 minutes a day, and that becomes 10, that becomes 20, and over time that becomes part of your life, right? Anything that you want to sustain must become part of your life. And life is not you alone, as rightly pointed out, is you, your family, your kids, your general circumstances. So it must become part of that, right? So that's my message to you. Again, now as far as the, let's say, to the elderly viewers here, first of all, I seek your blessings because I'm much younger to you. So, please bless me. More tangibly, if you, have children or grandchildren who you think could benefit from our classes, I teach kids myself with a lot of passion, and we have a community of students from 35 countries who are building really, really amazing stuff, right? So if you think you have family members who could benefit from that, please get in touch with me. And, as far as your own, let's say, children or grandchildren are concerned, I think the best we could do, is let your children discover themselves, give them enough inputs, because, the experience that you have as the elderly generation is absolutely invaluable. Yeah. Both of the world as well as the child himself. I think the parent knows the child more than anybody else, more than the child himself does. So let's say, maybe if you can help your child discover from an early age, at any age, what are the strengths, what are the real callings that a person has, what are the family, where is it the family resonates, right? And I think every family is different, every child is different, and a parent, no matter at what age, could definitely, help there. And I think I would just quote my own parents as an example, even today, though, yes, coding is very alien to them, right? But they give me their inputs, which are very valuable in terms of how do we handle certain situations. right? Be it related to work, be it related to people, be it related to world at large, right? I think if you can get into that supportive mode, right? Because clearly there is this generation is different, and going forward, world is changing really fast. But be sure that if your child wants to do something different, he's not alone. He or she's not alone, because there are many people out there today who are being quite experimental, right? So I think if that conversation sets in, that okay, let's maximize what we have, let's understand what your real callings are. I think that's perfectly what I would say is a good thing you could do.
So, Vineet, thank you for sharing your insights with us. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. And thank you for motivating both the set of viewers, one who wants to come out of their comfort zone, and the other, the elderly audience, to always support their children and to keep sharing their pearls of wisdom to them. Thank you, Vineet. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Shubhi, and thanks to the viewers for the immense opportunity.